A few years ago, I quit drinking caffeine cold turkey, just woke up one morning and said, okay, no more cup of coffee each day. Let's try to power through this without that caffeine fix. And the results of doing this, of just quitting cold turkey and not weaning off slowly, were interesting to say the least. I learned a lot of things about my body and my mind, and those things might be interesting to you, especially if you're suffering from anxiety or anything like that. But first, some backstory on why I quit drinking caffeine in the first place. I didn't drink coffee my whole life. In fact, I went all throughout college without ever really needing it at all. But once I got out of school and I started working as a flight attendant for a couple of years, this is where my schedule got a little bit more hectic because you can be pushed in that job to work up to 18-hour shifts due to delays. And then also your schedule is often just fluctuating between working like mornings and then graveyard shifts, and it can just really wreak havoc on your sleep schedule. So for me, I started to kind of need that morning cup of coffee to help me power through the day and deal with the traveling public. But when I talk about anxiety in my other videos, I'm usually talking about feelings that I squashed myself back in college, so before I started drinking coffee. And that's kind of where a conflict occurred for me, at least, is because when I started needing this caffeine all the time, I started to feel those anxious feelings that I had previously squashed sort of bubbling back up again. Now, contrary to what you might be thinking, it wasn't actually the immediate effects of the caffeine that would make me anxious. Sure, sometimes this would make me feel a little bit more jittery if I had a little bit too much, but for the most part, I was actually feeling anxious the next day or the day after that. If I went too long without getting my caffeine fix, that morning I might be going through like some little minor withdrawals basically, and that's when I would start to feel that anxiety coming up. And I know you regular coffee drinkers know what I'm talking about here. Even though caffeine is a drug and a lot of us are addicted to it, we have built a sort of jokey, cutesy culture around it, right? I know you know what I mean, because you've seen those mugs, you've seen those t-shirts where they say like, but first, coffee, or don't talk to me before I've had my morning cup of coffee. We've all seen it. And while this may be a cute and relatable sentiment to many of us, it doesn't change the fact that this is still a drug addiction we're talking about here. Caffeine is a drug, and we are regularly withdrawing from it every time we miss our morning cup of coffee. I mean, you could realistically become addicted to caffeine no matter what kind of caffeinated beverage you're drinking, but coffee is usually the biggest culprit of this, coffee and energy drinks. I mean, coffee averages out probably somewhere around 100 milligrams of caffeine per cup. It's quite a bit, and it's very, very easy to become addicted to this, especially if you're having multiple cups every single day. So basically, for me, I started realizing that I would get these sort of mini withdrawals each day I missed a cup of coffee. This might not be so noticeable if you are working behind a computer screen. Maybe you'll notice it, maybe you won't. But because I was working with the traveling public and interacting with hundreds of people every day, I definitely noticed a profound change to my mood. I was more irritable. I would feel some like social anxiety or just general anxiousness anytime I had to interact with somebody. And that was because I was going through these mini caffeine withdrawals. And obviously, mental health in mind, I didn't want to feel this way every day. I didn't want to rely on a drug like caffeine to make me feel just baseline normal, and then when I didn't have it, feel awful. So I knew I wanted to cut this out, and that's why I decided to just kind of go cold turkey and stop drinking coffee, cut caffeine out entirely. And admittedly, going cold turkey was a bad decision on my part. This was a stupid thing to do. It's not the best way to quit caffeine or to quit coffee, because what happened to me, on top of feeling anxious, irritable, antisocial, I remember the first like night or two of going without caffeine, I was having these heart palpitations in bed, and they were bad. They were just so uncomfortable. It was really hard for me to sleep, and it took me a few hours of thinking like, what did I do that's causing this? And then it kind of clicked. I was like, oh man, I haven't had caffeine in a couple of nights. That's what it is. After a few nights, these withdrawal symptoms kind of let up and weren't bothering me anymore. And then I just felt like my baseline got back to normal. I felt good. I didn't feel anxious. I didn't feel like I needed caffeine to be myself. So in my head, I said, okay, this is actually the right call. I don't think I'm ever going back to caffeine. I don't want to feel that way ever again. Like, my body is physically dependent on it. And this actually taught me a really important lesson about anxiety or about caffeine. And that is, if you're feeling like your anxiety, some level of general anxiousness is random, I don't really believe anxiety is ever random. I think there's usually something causing it, and sometimes it's just hard to pinpoint what that something is. So it would be worth investigating your caffeine intake. Whether you're consuming a lot of it or if you've gone a couple of days without it, remember that these can all play a role into your baseline anxiety, making it a little bit higher maybe while you're drinking caffeine, or even if it's been a few days since you've had the last cup, which may be less obvious and easier to miss. Anyway, fast forward a few years later and, I'm working a full-time job. I started a business. I'm making videos like this. So I was really kind of on a time crunch and I needed any kind of productivity boost I could find. So naturally, my brain was kind of starting to wander back towards, well, hey, maybe that cup of coffee in the morning wasn't so bad. Should we consider trying caffeine again? So I actually did go back to caffeine just to get that extra productivity boost and get that edge that everyone else has that I kind of sometimes as an entrepreneur feel I need. But I decided to do it a little bit differently this time. First off, I think that the caffeine content in coffee is more than most people need and quickly becomes something that we get addicted to. I think 100 milligrams is way more than you need. I think that there are better alternatives out there that, just get what you need, don't overdo it. And on top of that, I think it's important to take breaks. So I like to take a break, every weekend, and then every couple of weeks take like a week off. But like I said, I don't think coffee is the best option out there. I think there are better products. And to kind of take a look at that, I dove into some coffee alternatives, different caffeine sources that might be a little bit healthier on the body and better for the brain. Now, of the many different coffee alternative products I tried, my favorite so far has been something called Magic Mind. I've talked about this in other videos very favorably because I genuinely am a user of this stuff. And because the company liked the videos I put out on it already, the way I talked about the product and being a regular user of it, they reached out to me with a sponsorship offer. So this is a little bit of a sponsored shout out, but it still does not invalidate my thoughts on this because if I didn't really love this and use it, I would not be talking about it. It's basically just a 2-ounce matcha-based productivity shot. And matcha, if you guys don't know, is packed with naturally occurring L-theanine, so caffeine kind of lasts sustained throughout the day, as opposed to that sharp peak and then that sharp crash that we usually get from caffeine through coffee. It's also packed with adaptogens and nootropics, so these are kind of supplements that help us to think better and also just feel less stressed out. So if you do usually get jitters from coffee, this is something that can kind of balance those feelings out. I can honestly say that since drinking Magic Mind myself, I haven't felt any ugly withdrawal symptoms or negative jittery effects. I actually love the way this makes me feel. Makes me feel like a relaxed energy, I'd say. Really great for getting into flow state. But to be fair, I do make sure I take breaks from it, just like I do all caffeine. Like I said, maybe 2 days a week and then 1 week out of the month. And that's a good way for you not to become completely dependent on something like this. And like I said, even though I am making money promoting this, the fact is I really do love it. Otherwise, I would not be talking about it with you guys. I would find something else to talk about. But if you want to give Magic Mind a try, I will drop an affiliate coupon code down below so that you get a nice percentage off your order. And if you use that coupon code, I might get a kickback at no additional cost to you. So that helps support the channel, and I always appreciate that. If you decide to give it a try or just give any other matcha-based product a try, let me know what you think in the comments below. I personally think moving away from coffee is the right move for most people. And also, if you guys have ever tried to quit cold turkey, which I don't recommend, I want to know how that went for you guys. Did you experience the same kind of withdrawal symptoms as me, or did you experience something completely different? What kind of relationship do you have between your coffee or your caffeine and your anxiety? Let me know in the comments below. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe. I will catch you guys next time.